Have you ever looked at your walls and cringed at all of the nail holes? This easy step-by-step tutorial is going to help you fill all those nail holes so that your wall looks brand new. I'm Karen Peters with Renovated Faith, and we'll tackle the common frustrations that come with fixing nail holes, like what filler to use and even how to match the wall's texture. I'll give you expert tips and instructions on how to get a smooth finish so your wall looks the way it did when it was first painted. Ready to make all those nail holes disappear? Let's dive in. For this project, you will need a foam sanding block, touch-up paint, a cheap art brush, a putty knife, and I like Gorilla's wood filler, which is also for drywall. Use a putty knife to apply a generous glob of wood filler onto the hole. Don't worry about applying too much at this point. Scrape the filler into the hole and across the surface. It's fine to get a lot of it on the surface of the wall. Make sure you are forcing wood filler into the wall as you scrape downward. Use the putty knife to scrape so it's relatively flat and smooth with the texture of the wall. Next, take a little wood filler and roll it into a ball. Just push it over the top of the hole until it's flat. We are adding this extra layer of wood filler to the top of the wall to compensate for any shrinkage as the filler dries so that we don't have a concave hole in the wall. Now we're going to deal with some of the excess putty on the wall. Use the putty knife to scrape all four sides of your blob of filler just outside of where the hole is. You'll be left with something like this below. Then use a baby wipe or damp cloth to wipe off any of the excess wood filler on the wall. The less surface area we have to touch up with paint, the better. Now you're left with a little weird square on your wall. That's normal. Let this dry completely. The wood filler says to wait a few hours, but I like to wait overnight. After the wood filler has completely dried, use a foam sanding block to gently sand the area so it's flat. Sand a little at a time, stopping to check with your hand how smooth the wall is. And by smooth, I mean matching the previous texture of the wall. So this is what we're left with. And although it's hard to tell, it actually feels like the rest of the wall when I rub my hand across it. If you don't know your wall color, I recommend using color samples or a paint deck like this one to find the closest match. So we'll use the palette to find the closest wall color to our wall's original color. Then you can get a sample size container of this paint at your local Home Depot or Lowe's store. I have a Sherwin-Williams paint deck, and both Lowe's and Home Depot have all the Sherwin-Williams colors in their computer system. Check the blog post link in the description for more tips on getting a color match in a sample container. Now it's time for paint. Use a cheap art brush to dab a generous amount of the sample paint onto your wall. Cover the main area of the nail hole. Now take a paper plate and remove most of the paint off of the brush. We're going to dry brush or feather around the edges of the paint to help it blend in with the wall color. Feathering is a technique used by paint experts to help the paint blend in with the entire surface in case it's not an exact match. You can see how there are some streaks outward from the initial paint. Those streaks are where I feathered away from the center. It might look sort of like a sun when you're finished. And here is the wall after all my touch-ups have dried completely. Thank you so much for watching today's DIY video. There is a blog post that goes along with this video that has the supply list and all the details you need. So be sure to click on that link below in the description. Also, be sure to let me know if you have any questions at all, and I'm going to leave more home improvement videos right here for you to watch.